The Omnivore's Dilemma, starting at page 70, section begins with sick from corn. Compared to all the other things we feed cattle these days, corn seems positively wholesome. Yet feeding corn to cattle goes against the natural order almost as much as feeding them beef. During my day at Pokey, I spent a few hours with Dr. Mel Metzen, the staff veterinarian. Dr. Mel, as he's known at Pokey, runs a team of 8 cowboys. Their job is to ride the yard's dusty streets, spotting sick animals and bringing them into Pokey's 3 hospitals for treatment. From Dr. Mel, I learned more than any beef eater might want to know about the life of a factory farm steer. Basically, almost all of the cattle in the feedlot are sick, and it's their corn-based diet that makes them ill. They're made to eat forage, Dr. Metzen explained, and we're making them eat grain. Forage means grass. The most serious illness is bloat. Remember, there are bacteria in the animal's rumen, and they produce a lot of gas. Usually cattle belch a lot to release the gas. But a corn diet causes a condition that keeps the gas from escaping. This is called bloat. The gases in the rumen get trapped, and the rumen inflates like a balloon until it presses against its lungs. To save the animal, a vet must force a hose down the animal's throat to release the gas. Otherwise, the pressure will choke the animal to death. A corn diet also gives cattle acidosis, too much acid in the rumen. Human stomachs are naturally highly acid. A rumen, however, is naturally neutral or non-acid. Feeding corn to a steer changes the chemistry of the rumen, making it acid and causing a kind of heartburn that in some cases can kill the animal, but usually just makes him sick. Cattle with acidosis stop eating, pant and drool, paw and scratch their bellies, and eat dirt. This can so weaken the animal that it can develop a long list of other diseases, like diarrhea, ulcers, liver disease, pneumonia, and feedlot polio. Antibiotics for animals. Cattle rarely live on feedlot diets for more than 150 days, which might be about as much as their systems can stand. Over time, the acids eat away at the rumen wall, allowing bacteria to enter the animal's bloodstream. These microbes wind up in the liver. Between 15% and 30% of feedlot cattle have damaged livers. Dr. Mel told me that in some pens the figure runs as high as 70%. What keeps a feedlot animal healthy, or healthy enough, are antibiotics. Most of the antibiotics sold in America today are for animal feed, not for humans. Without these drugs, cattle cannot survive. The only reason they need the drugs is because they are being raised on factory farms and fed corn. The problem is that in response to the antibiotics, bacteria can mutate or change. They can develop into new types of bacteria that the drugs don't affect. By giving antibiotics to the millions of cattle in the U.S., we are actually breeding new superbacteria that can't be killed by antibiotics. I asked Dr. Mel what would happen if drugs were banned from cattle feed. We'd have a high death rate, he told me. We just couldn't feed them as hard. Hell, if you gave them lots of grass and space, I wouldn't have a job. End of section.